For my latest practical project in BRM, this cattle creep, I've used a new product to me, something called Humbrol Smart Mud. And that's for the muddy area, you'll be surprised to know, underneath the cattle creep. But what is Smart Mud and how do we use it? Let's start. It comes in a handy pot, and when you unscrew the lid, it looks like a sort of chocolate cookie dough, although certainly doesn't taste very nice. It's a soft, gritty compound, an acrylic paste of some sort, that you should be able to smear onto your model and produce realistic muddy terrain. So let's give it a go. Here is my test piece. It's going to be a small country lane, and so what I've done is I've taken a bit of plywood, put some polystyrene along the side and just given that a coating of thin ready mixed DIY stall wall filler. Given it a coat of poo brown, or dark umber as artists might prefer to call it, paint. And then, although I don't think I need to do this, I have coated the centre section, which is where the mud is going to be. I've coated it with PVA glue. Now, the mud should stick on its own, but I'm a belt and braces kind of guy, so quite frankly, we're going to have a bit of PVA on there as well, just to make sure it sticks. Right, take one pot of mud, scoop out some. It remains very liquid, this stuff. This pot's a couple of months old, and I've had it open. I mean, I've actually had the top off it and used it. So it does seem to stay quite liquid until you spread it thinly. I'm using a palette knife. It's my tool of choice for this and for the wall filler when I'm doing when I'm doing work on scenery. And the key is to wet it occasionally, and that seems to give you a nice smoothish surface. Now I know what you're saying, Phil, mud isn't smooth, it's all lumpy bumpy, and you're absolutely right, mud is lumpy bumpy, but it's also not that lumpy bumpy. It's liquid, you know, it gradually settles. So in 4mm scale, which is the scale I'm working in for this piece, I don't actually want it to be too rough or too coarse. So ideally I want a reasonably smooth surface to work on. I'm also aiming for a thickness of about 2mm. That would equate to 6 inches in 4mm. And once you step in some mud that's deeper than about 6 inches, you really are in trouble most of the time. So at least you're leaving your welly boot behind in the mud. So I'm going to go for a couple of mil. That roughly, I'm not measuring it obviously. And I'm just going to put that down and give me a base coat of mud. And I say it does actually, you know, it smears around quite nicely, this stuff, and it's actually very easy to work. I'm sure it would stick without the PVA, but you know what, let's give it a go. I don't know if the PVA is lubricating it or anything when I put it on there, but heck, we do it. And the palette knife, which is just a cheapo artist one that you can get from all sorts of shops, it's the trowel shape I go for, and I find that works. I find that's the most useful one for the sort of work I'm doing, because you can push it into corners and work the stuff really nicely with it. The flatter ones you can't get your hand down. You end up, in this case, you would actually be in the mud, whereas I can push this down quite nicely. So there you are, a coat of mud applied. I think it's still a little bit lumpy bumpy. So what I'll do is take a bit of sponge and just dab the top surface. There we go. Look, you can see it's smoothing off already, but not perfectly, because the sponge is leaving us with a little bit of texture. Just about right, I would have said. This is quite high density sponge, sort of thing you find from electronics packing, or no doubt you can go and buy sponge. But there we are. Very, very quickly, we have a moderately smooth surface to work with. Now, the fun bit. Mud does not stay smooth. If you put it like that, it's lovely, but quite frankly, that's not what a country lane looks like. What you have to do is then give it the right texture. And to do that, you drive a tractor along it. Yeah, look at that, leaving lovely tractor marks. You do have to make the sounds, by the way. It is compulsory. It doesn't work if you don't go beep, 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 and other tractory type noises. Because you look, the back wheels of the tractor now nicely weathered with mud. So I'll just dip my tractor in the water. Got to go the other way, and perhaps a little bit more. You can see it's getting quite deep there. So what I'm going to do is pat that down with the sponge, as though the rain has come and just washed away some of the tractor marks. Right, okay, there we are. And it's not just tractors, obviously, that will be going up and down here. We have cows. So here comes Daisy going moo, 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 moo. I'm moving on down along the lane. And you can see I'm just dabbing her hooves into the mud. Again, slightly random. I'm trying to sort of follow Daisy along the route, because otherwise you don't want the cow prints stopping in the middle of your mud. Cows do not suddenly take off and disappear. And there we have it. Give Daisy a little wash, a little bit of a pat with the lumpier bits on with the sponge. Perhaps a little bit more tractor action, tractor noises, and there we are. Right, all I have to do now is let that dry, and we shall see how it turns out. And there we have it, with the static grass added along the sides. The lane is actually looking very nice. Now, I think possibly because I have used water to help smooth out the mud, we've actually got quite a bit of colour in it already, just little variations on the brown. But as a finishing touch, what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of the burnt umber and dry brush it on bits of the mud, some of the raised areas, just to give me a little bit more colour variation still. You could add some varnish to this, just in the little divots there to add puddles. But of course, my model railway is always on the nice, warm, sunny days, so I'm not going to be worrying about that today. But there we have it, Humbrol Smart Mud. You know what? I think it's quite a useful addition to my modelling toolkit, and certainly I'm pleased with the results. Hope this is useful to you too. Happy modelling.